We're on Facebook, it says live.
Okay. January 20th, 2021. And episode 102. It's a lot of twos, a lot of zeros, a lot of ones.
My way.
So you're watching the Dave and Dave show.
I'm Dave.
As am I. So we got 3 topics today. I'd like to make sure we're on. I can see it. Okay. One is the real transition of power. 2 is leadership is hard. Leaders have to make decisions that have to be made that other people are too afraid to make. And then lastly, we're going to jump into business. Every business in 2021 is a commodity. There is always someone down the street who will do it for less than you. You like those topics, my friend?
I do. They're all interesting.
Beautiful. I've done my job. So, I always have a spin on things because I always feel like, me included, but I'm getting better. People get so wrapped up in other people's lives and what happens externally, which is just part of life, right? But I think they give away agency so willingly and easily. And while some people are ecstatic about today being a transition, some people are upset about today being a transition, they miss the biggest point. And the transition of power should be from you to you. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to look at that existential, that higher point. Like, in an election, even in an election, you can't really choose. You can have one vote. You have one vote in a primary. You have one vote in an election. But we believe we just give away this power and an agency. And I just feel like we forget that it all lies within. So I would say really quickly, the real transition of power today is stepping into knowing that the power lies within. And regardless if you're happy, mad, sad, regardless of your feeling, start with you. And I believe that, we've had this company, we've been in this business. I just said, this is my 20th year. I just realized it in real estate. And if you look, I started when Bush was president, Bush 2, right? Bush 2, Clinton, Obama, Bush, Clinton. I wasn't here for Clinton. So Bush, Obama, Trump, and now Biden. And what's interesting is I won't even talk about us, but the people who are successful, it's not incumbent upon who's the president and who controls Congress and who's in Supreme Court. Leaders could lead, but you have to be able to have your own moral compass, your own values, and your own ability to adapt, overcome, and innovate, regardless of what the rules of the game are and who's in charge. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
You believe that?
Yes, I do.
So,
at the time when I was so busy working and selling houses, I wasn't even paying attention of who was president. I was paying attention to the market, what I could sell, and how I could do my work. I'm not saying I didn't know who was president, but it was a secondary to my business.
And, we're not here to spew politics. We have our own favorites and people we like and don't like, but we are here to empower people, especially agents. And it's so easy to get caught up in things that you just cannot control and fight, so the real transition of power is the power that you're not accessing. So transition it back into you. And I think that's enough for that. But it's a good segue into leadership, because leadership does matter, Pops. And people who are leaders, you tend to flock to people who have similar values, right? And with that, you look for people to challenge your values and your perspective, which is when you read or listen to a seminar or a webinar, and also people to like give you permission. And I don't think people realize that. So let's say, for instance, I was talking to Angie this morning. You'll like this. And two people that I follow that I really respect is a man named Simon Sinek. He's the guy who actually wrote the book Start With Why, Your Why, that came from him. And Brene Brown, who is an amazing speaker on vulnerability and how that's power. So they're two of probably the 5 top people that I follow, with Tony Robbins being another one, Gary Vaynerchuk being another one, and Tim Ferriss being the other one. And I said to Ange, because I went on a walk this morning by myself, and there was an hour and 20-minute conversation of Brene Brown interviewing Simon Sinek. So both of my people were like talking. And I was like,
Were you cold this morning? Wasn't it cold?
no, it was actually beautiful out. It was drizzling a little bit, but it was like 47 degrees. It was not bad at all.
That's cold. I think I have Miami blood in me.
I don't know. It's cold at 38. That's when I throw the jacket. I had my Urban Nest sweatshirt on. I was ready to go. So it was so cool listening to them because they were speaking my language, right? And I said to Ange, and I was like, you gotta watch this. It just, I know there's gonna be like this tension in the air today, like people elated and happy and people just so pissed. And I was like, I really think you should listen to this, because it was about like this infinite mindset of how this isn't about winning. This is about living, and the game never ends, right? And they were having this great conversation. I said, and growing up, the only person that I had permission that I can have these, I thought at the time, competing mindsets of strength and kindness. And the only person I can actually look up to at that point in my life was you, because I was the only one who could see, you were the only one I could see that was successful without kind of selling your soul. And you were so driven and strong, but it's so kind and caring, and really wanted to do the right thing and do it the right way, and really genuinely give a shit about people, right? To the point, of course, to the point where you get taken advantage of. That's kind of, Simon Sinek was saying, like, that eternal optimist sometimes learns the hard way. So listening to these two people talking, I said to Ange, I was like, I'm so grateful that I am attracted to these types of people, where Simon Sinek is saying like everyone can win, and Brene Brown saying vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a superpower. And Tony Robbins' secret of living is giving, and Gary Vaynerchuk is go for it, no apologies, but empathy and kindness wins. And Tim Ferriss's curiosity and care, like these are the people that attract me. And I was like, I'm so grateful that these people exist in the world, because they anchor in my natural state of who I am. You with me still?
Yes. Can I make a comment?
Go for it.
On the presidency, be positive on both ends. Look for positive. President Trump kept our interest rates low, which was very favorable to buying a house. President Biden is going to give tax credits and money towards buying a home, which President Obama did, which then helped our economy. So my take for real estate wise is to look at the positive that each president has done, go with that positive, flow that energy, because if you flow that energy out of you, your clients are going to feel it. Wow, we're going to get a $15,000 abatement credit, whatever, from President Biden. Isn't this great? The interest rates are so low. Isn't this great? There's negatives to all of them, and I'm going to give a shameless bid. To me, I am the chair of legislative, and right now with COVID, businesses, everything's struggling. So they're going to look to raise taxes and not raise your real estate tax, but little nuances. And we have to work full steam at that. And then as far as NAR, I'm not telling you to be a major donor, but that $50 that you give, that Dave gave, that anyone gives when you pay your dues, that goes towards fighting for what the realtor wants. They had to do it with President Trump. President Biden said, oh, we're looking at 1031 to limit it. We don't want that. So that money, no president is perfect. No group is perfect. Embrace and look at that point. But the RPAC money we're going to use to make sure and protect 1031. So I think if you embrace the positive of what that president does for real estate, because I'm talking about real estate because that's what we do, you will find that being positive to that note is going to reflect to your clients and create success. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find the silver linings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It is what it is. And you make some good points. I mean, listen, NAR is a bipartisan group, so they equally piss off everybody. I'm not, depending upon the day, I begrudgingly sometimes give the money and sometimes I give it easily and willingly. When I was president, I did say this. You can guarantee that every dollar you give to NAR, to a lobbyist, which I don't agree with lobbyists in general. I hate that we have to play the game that way. I think it's horrible, but I said at least 50% of that money is going to go towards your heart. If NAR is 50-50, 50% of your money is going to go towards your heart, which I vote with my heart. I don't vote with my wallet. Maybe I'm just in a good enough position not to have to vote with my wallet. Regardless, I vote with my heart. But 100% of your money is going to go towards your wallet. It's going to protect your industry. Now, I don't always agree with it. Sometimes when you're protecting the industry, you're hurting a social initiative or something like that. And I don't think it has to be. It's bigger than just business. But there are a good group of NAR people that are trying to innovate us out of the good old boy network, and maybe that'll happen. If I was a betting man, I would not be putting my money in the stock of NAR. That being said, you got to tithe. You got to tithe and take care of your industry. And if we're giving a little bit of money, the 1031 is super important.
Very important.
And I would be all for that. And you don't usually hear me championing business things because I'm usually the one going, well, listen, I'm not a dummy. I know that you kill Nevada if you put if you put an state income tax. We're not a desirable enough place. We don't have 800 miles of coastline, right? So
forest through the trees. And Dave,
Exactly.
fairness to you, what your point is, politicians in our state, because I'm on both sides, totally agree with what you just said. On both sides of the aisle. Nobody wants to ruin what we have because of what you just said. We have to be one of the number one reasons people say they're moving here is saving taxes. Then comes the entertainment and all our stuff we do have, but the number one is the taxes and the affordability to live here.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting game moving forward, because you get something, you give something up. It used to be you live in Long Island because of the great schools. You're willing to pay the property taxes of Long Island that were exorbitant. You're willing to pay the state income tax of New York. You're willing to deal with the winners because of all the opportunity, the amazing education, and all those things. Listen, our schools are in a disruptive state and they may never go back to where they are at, and they're probably falling short even in the best spaces. So the trade-off to go to Nevada, Texas, or Florida is less of a trade-off than it used to be, because you get good weather and you get the no income state. Unfortunately, you have to pay the piper. So when we have these shortfalls, everyone's going, no, 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 no. And I agree, nobody wants to be taxed or have money taken out of their pocket, especially me.
Mhm.
That being said, you got to pay for it somehow. So, and this is a fantastic segue into my statement.
I always give you good segues. Why is that?
Well, I wasn't able to finish my point about leadership and permission.
Go ahead.
It does sometimes, if you follow the wrong leader, sometimes it gives you permission to the thoughts that may be dark and they shouldn't be fed. Those, some leaders will feed the wrong thoughts in your head. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
I had a coach who I loved. I love his message. I still love his message. Was feeding the wrong wolf, right? Which wolf wins? The good wolf or the bad wolf? And the statement goes, the wolf you feed, that's the one that wins. You feed it laughter and love and leadership, that's the one that wins. You feed it anger and sadness and destruction, that wolf will win.
I
But
love that. Where do you get that comparison? Where did that come from? I love it.
it's
Feed
an
the wolf.
old Native American supposedly saying, there's a battle between two wolves inside. And it's like, it's the Harry Potter Voldemort conversation, right? Like, which one wins, right? So Harry Potter fans over there. My metaphor is Harry and Voldemort are the same person. They're both orphans. They both had tough lives. To me, the whole story is about one chose love, one chose power and destruction. But they were the same people. So, but being a leader, and you just said this was this decision of, if you're a governor of a state or you're president of a country, most of the time, or even a president of the association like we both have done, a lot of times there's no good options. There's just no good options. Each decision you make is a difficult decision. And that's why I said leadership is hard. They have to make the decisions that have to be made that other people are too afraid to make, because you got a stamp on it. It's easy to be a Monday morning critic. That's why I have the man in the arena up there, right? It's not the critic who counts. It's the man in the arena, actually the one who's willing to fail. That's what being a leader is. And looking at a budget deficit and going, holy shit, where do we get this money? We don't want to lose jobs. We don't want to furlough people. We don't want to cut their hours. We want to provide services. We want to make sure, like, there's an interesting game with that. So there's just a lot of tough decisions, which no decision's good. And you're going to get crushed by 50% of the people.
And I'm going to make a comment on our leadership because we were 4 years apart. We were known, both of us, to have the longest board meetings ever. But here's the other thing that both of us as presidents were known for. A, everybody had a word. Everybody on that board got their opinion. And B, when they walked out, everyone spoke one voice, not because they were forced to, but they felt they were heard and that decision was made was best for the public and the realtor, not for us sitting there. And I could say proudly that you and I accomplished that in our presidencies.
Listen, I had people on the board that I wouldn't say hello to them if I was walking down the street. Like, that was just a reality. But when we were in that boardroom and they made a good point, I said, that is a fantastic point. Because what kind of leader am I if I just dismiss a great point because it's from someone that I don't respect outside of the boardroom? Maybe I don't even respect them inside of the boardroom. But it was still my job as a leader to get their point of view and not drown them out. They had a say, right? And we had so many unanimous decisions on difficult votes because we worked the issue out prior to the vote. And I would corner you into truth. I'd give you I'd be like, and I know you did this in a nicer way. I did it I'm reading between the lines right now, and I know you're trying to bullshit it. And I'm calling you out right now. So if you say I'm wrong, great, here's your opportunity. So I'm not forcing you into a decision. I'm forcing you, if you're going to have an agenda, you better back it up and own it 100%, right? But it's just hard decisions because you're trying to get everyone on board. The beauty of being the president of these things is you only had one vote. So you could be a lame duck president, super easy. I love that. And it forced you as the president or as a leader to make sure that you had everyone's buy-in and gave them, you couldn't bullshit. And one of the things that I learned from you as well is if I made a mistake as a president, I would say first and foremost, I'd throw myself under the bus and go, that's completely on me. Completely.
What you do, and then you can move on from there instead of everyone trying to put blame and saying you won't admit it. A leader will say, wow, you know, my favorite saying, and I don't even know what I got it, pencils out of erasers, because we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
The person will admit they made a mistake.
And that's the hardest thing. And, you know, I was in a clubhouse room a couple of weeks ago, and someone said, are leaders born or made? What do you think before I give you my answer?
Okay, I could give you my opinion. I think that you're born with the ability to lead, and I think you're made a leader by the life you live.
That's fair. So I spoke up. I was a commentator. I said, it's kind of like many are called and few are chosen. You ever heard of that statement before? Mm-hmm. I believe everyone is born with the opportunity to be a leader. And it's just who decides to answer that call.
Oh, same different things.
Right? And what's ironic is leadership is looked at as like the head of a company or a president, but that's not the case. Like there's leaders. If you're a parent, you're most likely a leader, right? You got to lead your kids and like you got to lead your family and you got to lead your business. So
if you are a successful parent.
True.
Not just a parent.
And then
it's like, and in each field, it's like we were in a movie with a whole group of people and someone got hurt and everyone ran from the person because they didn't want to be involved. And I ran too. Is that because I'm a leader? Yes, I'm a leader in that I was a firefighter 20 years and I always ran to the problem, not away. And in that case, I'm the leader. So each situation could show whether you're a leader or not. You could way and not a leader. So part of the gig.
Well, I love where you're going with that because you could be the leader who ran towards the person, and then a doctor could be in the crowd and didn't run and then go, then they can lead from that point on trying to resuscitate them. And then right. You transfer to leadership, right? Like my wife and I have different leadership roles within our marriage, right? She's a leader in some areas, I'm the leader in the others, right? So one of my coaches used to say, every man a leader. There's a man's group, right? And it was just about making the conscious decision to lead. So, and it's, unfortunately, I don't believe there's enough leaders. And unfortunately, I do believe that it's the people who are willing to yell the loudest sometimes or speak up when there's a vacuum that are automatically looked at as leaders. And that we got to be careful on, because there's a lot of leaders that just have not listened to their voice yet inside and given themselves the courage to just actually go out there and lead, because there's courage that goes with it. A lot of people like to be leaders in theory. They love the title, but they don't like the accountability, right? They want the significance. And I always used to say, especially in those rooms, the significance, the accolades should be a byproduct of leadership, not the reason why you want it in the first place.
And I will make one comment today. I got teary-eyed when they installed the vice president, because here we had a woman for the first time in my life, and I'm going on the latter part of my life now, and I lived to see a woman vice president. And I think of those three beautiful granddaughters, my granddaughter could be one of them a vice president or president of the United States. And today I felt we took one step closer for women to be leading this country. And it really got to me, because you gave me 3 beautiful granddaughters, and I'd love to see President Elatina, you know.
And to the enlightened mind, that should be a bipartisan feeling. That should just be a moment, just like with Trump. Remember in the past all the ridiculousness, did Bush Jr. do cocaine, and did President Clinton inhale the joint? Like, that was ridiculous. Are you cutting out or me?
No, I'm not seeing either. I'm seeing.
You cut out a little
Oh,
bit. It's definitely you, because I'm watching.
It's unstable.
Well, I'll talk. So it was, you couldn't be divorced. You had to be this perfect person. While my values may not align with President Trump's, one of the silver linings for him was you can be divorced and rough around the edges and still be president. Just like one of the silver linings, if you're not a Democrat, for Kamala is you could point to her and go, anyone could be vice president or president. So that's just the enlightened, heightened mind that just looks at the situation at hand and go, all right. Because I used to joke and say, well, I could never be a politician. I have too much of a fun past, right? Not the case anymore. So we'll give credit.
This isn't fun go to the presidency.
What?
You don't have enough fun in your past compared to president.
You need to figure out your internet, my friend. Maybe open that door behind you.
When the wind comes unstable.
Look, we get to see that beautiful outfit you have on. You really got dressed up for this. Okay, so
I have clothes on. How many great commercials when they're doing Zoom and they're in boxer shorts and you see it, you start laughing.
I think I'm right. You got clear all of a sudden. So, all right, that's our leadership segment. Now we're going to jump into business. And this guy, I'm going to give him kudos. He owns a company called Client Giant, which is all referral based. It's basically like you sign up your clients for this and they're doing all of the pop buys and the gifts for you. It's not cheap. You could do it during a transaction for a buyer or seller, or you could do it for just an existing retention client. And it's called Client Giant. The guy's name is Jay O'Brien. And me talking about finding people who are aligned with my thought process, right? And he had this amazing comment, so I will not take credit for this. He said, every business in 2021 is a commodity. There is always someone down the street who will do it for less than you. I thought that was, what?
Said, oh boy.
I thought it was so interesting because there's this conversation about, is personal relationships and professional services a commodity? Now, if you're into business valuation, people value businesses. They don't value professional services as a commodity, because commodities actually get a much higher multiplier on what the value of their company is. It's easier to say, I own a sub shop with the processes and the systems, and then go sell it for 10 times my last year EBITDA, versus I own a real estate company that has my father and I all over the place, and it's more personal relationships, right?
Explain EBITDA.
Income before taxes, and it's basically your net, right? It's your net income every year, not your gross, because gross doesn't tell you. So for instance, what's gross? Little quick, you could say you made $150,000 last year, right? One realtor could say I made 150, the other realtor could say I made 150. but we don't know is one realtor may be spending 80,000 on Zillow leads, the other one may be spending 5,000 to take care of their clientele. It looks like they both did 20 deals, they both made 150, but one is only netting 70 grand and the other one's netting 145. So that's your EBITDA. It's before taxes. Then you throw taxes in. I don't know if you're an aggressive tax person or not. I'm Italian from New York, so I'm not aggressive because I go right to jail if I wasn't aggressive, right? So that's your value. So, but the conversation about the future of real estate has been around. Are you going to be a commodity or are you going to be a valued, trusted advisor? So I loved his point of like, it's so easy to play the commodity game because it's a zero-sum game, because it's a race to the bottom, right? Now, people play this game all the time. But, and I don't want to go after any realtors or any ways of doing business. Generally speaking, if one burger is 99 cents and the other one is $6, which burger do you think has more quality meat? Which one has a better shot to be grass-fed, hormone-free, and cooked right there on the spot?
So, but which one am I going to 99-cent burger, and then after I try it and see it's disgusting, then I'm going to the $6 burger.
Also, if that quantity game is your game, you have to do more volume. And when you do more volume, you tend to lose what?
You tend to lose the efficiency of what you do and the quality of what you do.
Quality and consistency, usually more personalized. So realtors have to make a decision, and there's no wrong answer. Consumers have to make a decision moving forward. Do you want less care, less price, or higher care, higher price? There's no wrong answers.
I have to interject there, Dave. For a burger, I may make that mistake. For my house, which is usually the biggest purchase or sale of your life, I don't want to take the bargain, not enough attention, not doing the right job person. I want to take the person. It's not a burger and it's not a shirt that I could throw out later. It is the biggest purchase, the biggest sale of your life. No one else in their life, normal people, aren't doing $500,000-$600,000 transactions besides their house in their entire life. So to your point, I want the professional.
Listen, I agree with you a ton, but something said in that conversation between Simon Sinek and Brene Brown that I loved is context is everything. So some people may not have the opportunity. They may have to go with the discount option because they got no choice, right? So for instance, if I needed to get a surgical procedure, I would want the absolute best person to do it, regardless of the cost, correct? If I needed to defend myself in the court of law, I'd want the $799 an hour attorney, not the $99 an hour attorney. But I may not be able to afford it. So context does matter. So I would try to get the one I could afford who is the best.
I agree.
So, because I will tell you, there are some lower cost realtors with basically not knowing their worth and maybe some confidence issues that are better than higher cost realtors who just have the courage to charge more. And then it works vice versa, right? I mean, as a business coach, I can't tell you how many of my colleagues and clients have such a problem with raising their prices and getting what they're worth. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it doesn't, there's always like, just because it's the montage doesn't mean it's always the best, right? There may be something in the middle where you're like, wow, this is montage type service, but it's $200 less a night. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and those are the places I love.
Exactly. So, you know, that's kind of where you have to look. But where most people undervalue themselves, believe it or not. You would think they overvalue themselves, but they don't. And where I would be careful if I'm a realtor is playing the commodity game and the volume game, because I believe you give away some of that extra service. It's much easier for me to service 40 people rather than 80 and get to the same direction. Plus, you're making a declaration of who you are and who you attract, right? So I thought that was super interesting because it's kind of like first there was 10-minute abs, right?
Yeah,
And then what was next?
you're breaking up now. Just repeat it.
Then it was 9-minute abs. Then it was 8-minute abs. Then it was
Okay.
7-minute abs. Soon you don't even have to do anything. You can just eat pizza and you're going to get abs, right? So
Can I take that choice?
exactly. But, so for instance, why would someone pay $150 an hour for a trainer?
Why did I pay that?
Yeah.
Plus, they forced me to do the work.
And if it was $5 an hour, would that have been the same?
No,
What was the difference?
I'm professional and in my group, knowing that what my body type could achieve the greatest shocked when you saw me during one of my training sessions to see that what I'm doing with that professional trainer.
Are you more or less likely to blow off a training thing that you're going to get charged for if it's $150 an hour or $5 an hour?
$5.
Of course. So
What's
for instance,
$5?
I could be doing a seminar in front of 100 people and it's free. But because it's free, they're more likely to take a phone call, go to the bathroom, take an extended lunch. If the people in there paid $1,000 to be in there, they're going to pee their pants before they miss out on a word that you say, because there's more to lose. They had to sacrifice more to be there. So sometimes it's a psychological game. People value things that they pay more money for, that they have to sacrifice more for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the conversation on pricing is a huge one, because moving forward, two choices. You're either going to be a door opener and someone who lists things on the MLS for the lowest price possible, right? Which is okay, because again, I don't want to break any rules, but if you're a 1% lister, that was first, then there was a $9.95, that was second, now there's a $0. If you do the loan and title through them, you pay $0, right? It's a bundled service. So you're actually using a title company or a mortgage company to do your real estate part of the deal, right? That's there. Or you pay more and you get congruent service. So moving forward, you're either going to be a low-cost commodity, high volume, or a high trusted advisor that, what you said, if I'm selling my home, which for over 80% of the people, it's the number one way they gain equity and appreciation and save money. It becomes really their bank accounts to save money. You don't want to leave money on the table. So the irony is you get a good realtor and pay that extra percent or two, depending upon what you do. That may net you even more money. So be careful not to step over $1 to pick up a dime. So I
Agreed.
thought that was super interesting. Do you not? Like, I love the way he said that every business 2021 is commodity. And we've gotten, listen, what are people watching this on right now?
Zoom, Zoom, Zoom.
No,
Oh, Facebook
which is
commodity.
free. Everybody wants everything free. right? You can go into YouTube and get everything free. So we become this society where we want everything free and cheap and free and cheap. And there is a cost to that. So guys, realtors especially, but any business owner out there, my number one billboard thing to tell you is raise your prices. It is. You're going to repel the people that aren't your clientele, and you're going to attract people who are. Think about it. You can't expect to do high-end property and not market in a high-end way. Some people are just waiting for you to grow into that spot. So, nothing wrong with it. You could be a commodity, but just know what you're giving up moving forward. Any takes on that?
I think your decision is your decision. Some people want to sell 100 houses for $1 a house, and some people want to sell 20 for that consider their commission that they're worth and give the most outstanding service known to man. So make that decision of who you want to be and then embrace it.
And then if you do have more, you better get help. And then it's economies of scale. And if you get help, it's going to cost you money. So if you're already charging very little and you're getting help, there's not much of the pie that you could pay other people to help, right? So people are like, you got 3 kids, you're thinking about having a 4th. I'm like, well, really raising a child is time and money, right? So that means I have to make enough money to give myself time and money, right? Because I have to outsource all the other stuff and I got to use the economies of scale. And then listen, it's the same for a nanny for 2 kids as it is for 3. So that's a beautiful thing. That's why business owners, they already have the attorney, they already have the accountant, right? So
is it the same for 3 as it is for 5?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I've never seen a babysitter be like, well, it's $20 a kid per hour. Like, have you ever seen that? So but if the babysitter, for instance, a great example, is already charging a little bit, now they're actually doing more work for less. And are they, if I'm running a babysitting business and now I got to watch 4 or 5 kids, am I hiring on another babysitter and am I charging enough that we could both take care of them? So
I think you better start the ZEET because you're going to get your babysitter to get more money if you keep
my
talking.
babysitter is paid better than, forget it. Don't even get me started on that. Hi, if you're watching, hi. So,
Uh-oh, after COVID, I may have to go back to hours babysitting. Uh-oh.
So listen, there's always someone, the moral of the story is this, there's always someone who's going to be willing to do cheaper than you. So of the 5 fundamentals, future-proof your business, 1 is relationships. 2 is raise your prices. But if you're going to raise your prices, you better add absolutely outstanding value and be worth it. Agreed?
I always showed my value, always. I show it as a broker. I show it as a manager. I showed it as an agent when I sold houses. And I never had a problem because my value was true.
Yeah, and you get what you pay for. I mean, I have 2 tile guys. One is half the price of the other. One is an artist and everything is perfect. The other one, what?
Artista.
Artist, Peter, he's amazing. But if you ask me for a tile guy, I'm going to be like, here are the 2 guys. Alfredo does a good job. But maybe his saw is a little bit blunt that day and you got to make sure you get the right tile. Peter is going to rip it all down first to make it right because he's just as annoyed it doesn't look right as you are. 2 different people, right? Like,
depends where the tile is. That if it's in your eye, I want Peter. If it's on the floor in the laundry room, all right with Alfredo.
You got it. And that's okay. Right? So maybe, but in real estate, again, you can't even say that because if you're selling a $250,000 house, that extra $5,000 means just as much to the person selling $1 million house wants to make that extra $50,000. That's where it becomes a totally different game. You got to be super careful on that. The cheapest isn't always. That saying, that stereotype of you get what you pay for, oh boy, is that right. And all you have to do is renovate a house and you will kick yourself in the face over and over again. I have an amazing wood guy, Pops. Remember I told you this story? This guy's amazing. Comes and does this gorgeous woodwork. He's doing shelves and shiplap and the whole nine. And his painters use a couple different crews, come in and they ruin the job. So I had to call my painter, Julian, to come in and fix the job. So,
And that's the point of, if you're going to be excellent, make sure everyone around you has your excellence.
which is a great, again, so I'm having a conversation with my guy who's charging me a decent amount of money. And he's like, I got a 4-month, are you even paying attention? I'm going to kill you. He's got a 4-month backup of deals. And I'm like, do people ask you to pay more to cut the line? And he's like, all the time. And he's like, but I need better people. I need a painter and I need this. And he's like, he's like, what do you suggest? And I said, listen, you're doing my work, so I really don't want to say this to you. You got to charge more. And he's like, I know. He's like, because if I make one mistake, I don't make money on the deal. And I can't hire the painters I want to paint. And I got a 4-month backup. I said, so you're doing all this extra work. He goes, I go, guess what you're going to do? You're going to lose clients when you charge more. But you're going to make more per deal. And you're going to be able to say to people, hey, listen, I'll be able to do it in a month rather than 4 months. Who wants to make 4 months? No one wants to wait 4 months. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things where it's a mindset shift where you're like, if you start giving away the house, you may say it's only one time, but it's never one time, because everyone who refers you now is going to think you're the person who gives away your services. Mm-hmm. And that sticks with you. So get what you're worth, baby. All right. So any take on that, Pops? You've always been pretty good with that. You don't even actually, in the past, you didn't even really had conversations about it. You were matter of fact. Like, this is
no, because I never had to say to them, ooh, I listed it at the wrong price, or ooh, you just overpaid for this house afterwards. I used my expertise to the market, what's going on in that day, to get my money. You paid for me and you got me, and I knew what I was doing. So no, I never had that conversation. It's like we're speaking about now. If a house is on the market for one day and you have 5 offers, it's a hot market. You have to think, am I leaving money on the table by pricing my house this price? An expert that wants to work and put work into your house probably won't let that happen.
You know, I always laugh. I was such a big gift giver after. I loved like a little closing gift. And you never gave them. Like, not because like you didn't care, it's just you were so busy, right? And the irony is you would get gifts from your clients. Like, they would be giving you closing gifts. That just shows, right? Like, it's just so funny how that is. So we got a couple of comments. I did see a Ben Hodge one. 5 kids won't get the level of attention as 2 or 3. So that is correct, Ben. You know, I used to think, oh my God, do I have enough of love or heart for, I know I have enough love. Do I have enough time for all my kids? And that's when you have to make some big decisions. Like, you don't have time when you have to do the laundry, the cooking, the cleaning, and all that. But Angie and I made a decision where we said we're going to commit to making enough money, building enough businesses, and doing things so we could outsource the things that don't give us time with the babies, with the kids. But even then, there's been a couple of times with the newborn where Ella and Lola, as my older kids, have had that. He doesn't look at me like he looks at this goo goo gaga baby. Like, that's part of the game. I mean, you're part of. There was 5 of you, right?
I wouldn't change it for the world. I learned to share. I learned to be self-sufficient. I've learned to do everything as I did it, you know, not to say, oh, someone else is going to do it for me. I say if you could afford it, which is the key message, the more the merrier. That's mine. Because you also learn a lot of relationships from having siblings.
Exactly. But you also got to know your values and what's around it, right? So when I was having a conversation with an agent yesterday, and she was like, I want to do 50 deals this year. And she did 24 last year. And I said, who do you have to become to double your business? Like, and what does your January and February look like? Because we're already in it. You know, I was like, you're going to say 50. If you have nothing in escrow, this conversation is over, right? But in all fairness to her, she's got 4 in escrow and 4 listings coming. So I said, beautiful, you're on track. You're going to close 4 in January, probably close your 4 listings. But in order to do that, you're going to have 6 to 10 pieces of business at all times throughout the year, right? Because you got to have the ones closing and the ones opening, the ones closing and the ones opening. It's a continue. So some months you'll have the 10, 5 opening and 5 closing. Some months you'll have 3 opening and 3 closing. I said, but you have to come around. Like, she's like, well, what does it take to get to 100 deals?
Oh my God.
And I said, well, it takes an assistant and buyer's agents and a lot of commitment on marketing and things like that. And she's like, I don't think I want that. I said, beautiful, because you got to know what you want and what you're willing to say. You're right. It's the why, the why, what, and want, right? The why, want, and how. And we had this great conversation around it. And that's, I think, when you start pricing things, if you want to do 100, you may have more room to play with your numbers because you got to get people through, right? But even then, why would you go to China to get to Mexico?
Your favorite saying?
My favorite. I mean, sometimes the journey, not even sometimes, the journey is what defines you. Don't get me wrong. But there's definitely more efficient ways. There's no reason to work all that extra deals just to come. Like, I look at all the numbers. Some people they get to the destination of, let's say, 150 grand with 10 deals. Some people get there with 30. Me, I would look at the 2 and go, how do I get there in 10? Wouldn't that sound, because I'm looking at it as quality of life, more time with my kids, not burning myself out, right? So that's where we're at. And he leaves. Perfect timing, because we are going to wrap this up. Beautiful. So let's recap. Transition of power, number 1. The transition is not from president to president. The transition is from the power that you are not accessing inside to you actually stepping in and accessing it. Leadership is hard, but you have to make decisions that have to be made that other people are too afraid to make. Beautiful. Be the person that's not afraid. Step up. You'll be surprised what you're capable of. We talked about it last week, right? If you want to be this person, you don't wake up. You got to make the commitment here and you become that person. That's a leader. A leader takes the chance. And then lastly, every business in 2020, I'll rephrase, has a potential to be a commodity. There's always someone who's willing to do it less for you. Why not double down on you and charge more and add a ton more value? Everyone in the transaction will be more grateful. All you need is to remind that person of that time where they didn't go for the right one and they went the cheap way out and it cost them double. So that's where we're at. Sorry I could bore you today, Pops. 101 was fantastic. 102, you were in and out. I couldn't hear you. You're whatever.
So sorry, lo siento.
All right. Any parting shots?
Parting shot is it's a new year. It's a new time. Go for it. Go for it before you get left behind. Go for it in life. So that one thing I learned from coronavirus is that once we're out and free again, do everything you want to do personally and business-wise and enjoy your life while we have time on this planet.
There's a beautiful Mikey Bubbles song. Michael Bublé. We call him Mikey Bubbles. Birds flying high. And basically it's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life, and I'm feeling good. And that's how I felt the day I walked out of my presidency. So congrats to all involved. All righty, that's all we got. Episode 102. See you next week.